All right, so we are going to be talking about trash talking, and I know that some of you might feel like I'm attacking the culture or attacking trash talking in general, and I just ask that you hear me out for a second, okay? So really, the point of this video is actually a little bit more about consent, okay? And this comes up because of someone who, we've been chatting for probably a year and a half, 2 years now on Meat Fighters and all that. And, sometimes I play along with trash talking, but a lot of times I'm just like, it's so icky. And this is not me trying to kink shame. This is not me trying to be judgmental in any way, shape, or form. It's just for me, and I think I've said this and I've been pretty open about this on this channel, is that, I do have mental illnesses. I do have things that I struggle with, and they might be more concerning than I had thought before, as they're starting to create physical manifestations. So I have depression, anxiety, and ADHD that I struggle with. And, for somebody like me, being called a bitch, being put down all the time, it really actually hurts me mentally and physically. And I can't say why, because I know that, people aren't serious when they're saying it, but it's still hurtful to me when people are being particularly trashy. And so, you don't know where somebody is when you're messaging them online, right? You don't know what that person's going through. You don't know what if that person's even into trash talk. And so, unless they say specifically in their profile that that's something that they're into, and unless they you've asked them, and this is where the consent comes in, unless you've asked them directly if they're into trash talking and if they're okay with that, don't do it. Okay? It's something that could be more hurtful than you think, to somebody who might be struggling with something that you're not aware of. And so I think that's an important thing to note, is that, I know that you enjoy it, but just because you're into this thing doesn't mean other people are. So don't ever make that assumption. Communication is always going to be key. For me, it's no different than choking somebody out, right? If you choke somebody out and they weren't expecting you to, and they didn't consent to that, well, that's a really, really incredibly big deal, right? Because choking somebody out comes with inherent risks. You can actually potentially kill somebody by doing that. And so I'm not saying that, choking is not usually relatively safe for most people to do, because most practitioners of submission wrestling will get choked out at some point in time and not have any complications that come from it. But there is going to be that odd person that's going to have a cardiac arrhythmia, that's going to go into respiratory arrest or have a stroke or something that comes from being choked out. And if you're doing that without their consenting, well, you've decided on their behalf that you are okay with that risk, even if they're not. So, and I don't think that trash talk is any different than that, right? You are deciding that you are going to behave in a way or do something that turns you on, but might actually be harmful to the other person. So really, really be cognizant of how you approach people in the very beginning. I would say, and this goes even in the kink community, when I first started in the kink community and I was first setting up my profile on Recon and all that, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of guys would message me and they would immediately start calling me boy. They would immediately start demanding that I call them sir, that they would immediately start trying to create this dominance over me. And I didn't know them, right? I wasn't in a relationship with them. They weren't my sir. They had no reason for me to respect them, and they had no right to be talking down to me as somebody that was exploring more of a submissive role at that point in time. So when it comes to establishing these roles, as far as, are we going to be doing trash talking? If we're doing trash talking, what role are you going to be taking? So on and so forth. It's one of those things that you have to discuss it before you start doing it. And this is just basic manners, really. And when somebody says, I'm not into that, don't do it, And to go into more of, and I kind of meant to lead with this, but I kind of went backwards. If you're going to a BJJ submission wrestling school, most schools are going to look down on that. If you talk while you're rolling, if you come in and you start trash talking somebody, and there's a lot of videos on YouTube like where big bodybuilders will come in and try to prove that jiu-jitsu is bullshit, and then they're like, okay, and they'll like grab this purple belt girl who's maybe 130 pounds to go against this 210 pound bodybuilder. She's like, okay, Claire, why don't you roll with this guy and just go easy on him, right? And then she'll completely own him and choke him out and put him in arm bars and all that, and he'll just be like, what the fuck is going on? Sometimes it's the coach that will do that, and they'll put them in their place that way. And that's one of the things about wrestling that I think actually is one of the more beautiful things about it, is that when you're doing jiu-jitsu specifically, it's a very humbling experience, right? And I think that this is going to be true if you had, your junior high level wrestlers with your college level wrestlers in the same class, right? Mushed up the way that you get with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, where you have people that are, let's say 16, because that's probably more likely in a jiu-jitsu school, is like 16 through 70 years old, and people are at all levels, scattered all across the spectrum, and you're going to have this old guy that is smaller than you kick your ass when you're a white belt every single time you get on the mats, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you learn very quickly that your size doesn't matter. You learn very quickly that your strength doesn't matter as much. What matters is technique. And everybody sucks in the beginning. And I've actually talked about this a fair amount, where people were like, well, I don't want to start, I'm afraid to start because, I'm smaller, I'm going to get smashed and all that. Everybody does. Everybody gets smashed. Everybody is going to have problems. So, when you bring trash talking into a jiu-jitsu school, and hopefully into regular wrestling classes, like if you're on a school team or whatever, hopefully they discourage that. Hopefully they do. Because really, everybody in that room is there to learn and to help others learn. And that's what I want for this community, especially, is I want everybody here to be either trying to learn or trying to help others learn. And, yes, if you're doing pro wrestling or you're really into trash talking, find somebody that's into trash talking. That's fine. Go ahead and go do that. I totally want you to go out there and have fun, but just be aware that your size is not going to matter to everybody. Your strength is not going to matter to everybody. Some people, like me, will really, really enjoy putting you in your place if you come at me like a douchebag and we end up rolling. Now, to be honest, if you come across as a douchebag to me, I'm not going to reply to you. I'm not going to meet up with you. I'm just going to give you the finger and say, fuck it, you're not worth my time. But, in the odd chance that does happen, if you were to come into my jiu-jitsu school right now, or when I start teaching the LGBTQ classes at my school, and if somebody does come in and does have that attitude, yeah, I will roll with them. Yes, I will put them in their place. Because I think that's very important. I think that people need to understand that when you get into rolling, you're going to get smashed, you're going to get hurt several times, right? You're probably going to get injured from time to time. You're probably going to get really discouraged from time to time. And when you come in and you're trash talking somebody who is struggling with the technique, who's always getting stuck on the bottom and all that, and they're really frustrated and they're feeling like quitting, and you start talking to them, you're feeding into that. And so this thing that they wanted to get good at, this sport that they thought that they loved, you might be robbing them of that, right? So, when we talk to people, especially in the beginning, and especially when you don't know somebody, you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what their level is. You don't know what their skill level is. You don't know what their insecurities are. You don't know any of that. So don't open up by trash talking. Don't open up, and if somebody tells you not to trash talk, don't continue doing it, because it can be a really bad thing for some people, and you don't want to participate in that. You don't want to be the one that took wrestling out of somebody's lives if that's something that they really loved. So that's a lot of what I say and what I want out of this community, is that we are supportive of each other. And I've been so proud of our Telegram group, especially because everybody has been so supportive and so friendly. And the world needs that right now, guys. We just had the U.S. Capitol attacked by intolerant people, and it was a horrible thing to have happened, and it's going to be discouraging for a lot of us. And so for us to be able to come together and say, hey, we've got this online family. A lot of us have met in person. A lot of us have played in person. When somebody is struggling with something, we try to help them with it. So try to, unless this is a kink thing where you and your partner have agreed to it, try to keep this whole thing positive and supportive, right? Try to lift each other up. Don't put each other down, because that's how we keep people interested. That's how we keep people developing and learning. When people are struggling and they're frustrated, that's how we get them through that, is by being supportive, not being trashy and hurtful. So this is, again, goes on longer than I ever wanted these videos to go, but I think I've made my point here. If it's your thing and it's somebody else's thing, have at it. But find out first and respect other people. Thank you. I will see you guys next time. I do intend on either tomorrow or Wednesday. I've got some really cool things that I want to show you guys, technique-wise, that I was really inspired by lately. And so we will handle that soon. You guys got some great content coming to you, and hopefully we won't be so dominant on fireside chats as much in the coming days. So in 2021. So thank you guys for watching. Have a good day, and let me know where you guys are struggling, where you need help. That's what I'm here for. All right, have a good one.